against a police state, against racist intersectionality, against political correctness, against mob rule, against the racist socialist left, against the victimhood liars. The idiots have been in charge way too long. And that's why you're here. For the podcast you need. All for liberty all the time. Welcome to Liberty Bites Back. With your host, Brandon Emo.
Welcome to the fourth episode of Liberty Bites Back. Today I'm going to go over how globalism won't help liberty, and also argue my stance on how trade deals are not a free market, then go over what a free market actually is. Now, globalism will never help liberty, nor an average individual. Instead, it helps spread indentured servitude, or at least the equivalent to it. It does so by outsourcing jobs in our country to countries that will pay workers a fraction of what we were paid, so products are cheaper. But instead of focusing on the cheaper products, let's take a look at the indentured servitude and see this is not a liberty-oriented approach to getting cheaper goods, but is instead a mechanism to push the outsourced jobs new nation where they are held for their government to embrace a totalitarian regime that will beat the workers into continue the new job market for their terrible wages. This is the result completely of globalism. The complete definition of globalism is the operation or planning of economic and foreign policy on the global basis. So right there, I've touched part of the first section of the definition. The planning or operation of the economy globally, and how it creates some governments to become totalitarian, to keep in control the means of some production by forcing indentured servitude on their people to keep prices low for global consumption. While on the economy, let's also hit how it helps large corporations concentrate. It helps large corporations concentrate their wealth while bullying and removing the little guy or small businesses. Now, many bring up these points and state the government must now work with the corporations to expand globalism. But that is utter stupidity. I just went over that globalism does actually make governments incentivized to do that, to secure their global market shares, and it leads instead to a more of a concentrated wealth to the top instead of the average Joe or the average Joe man. If we are to help the individual, markets must be local, but trade not stiffened either. Even internationally, more competition is the key to success. We all need more competition for a free market, but also boycotting the individually the totalitarian governments. We need to boycott them individually. Boycott these totalitarian governments that are creating these indentured servants who are their citizens. That must happen while the push for localism is achieved. Localism, not globalism. But global trade not made illegal, but instead made not popular. Are there things you may want that exist in other cultures? Well, you bet your little butt. But that's why illegality is not the answer. Instead, a push in culture to not want to always rely on it is essential. And then globalism, foreign policy, that needs to be a thing of the past. The complete definition of globalism is the operation or planning of economic and foreign policy on a global basis. Touching on the second part of that definition, it's clear that globalists would state the United Nations, the WHO, and all the international councils help us overall. A complete lie, a complete farce in the face of the people of the world. We clearly see that while many say globalism is the answer, all nations currently have their own foreign policy, but meet at these meeting places to discuss the ins and outs, while leaving liberty nowhere to be seen, nor ever thinking of the individuals. They think of the elite, and usually the elite are even at these meetings. The United Nations has four main purposes. These four purposes of the United Nations are, the first one, to keep peace throughout the world. The second purpose, to develop friendly relations among nations. The third purpose, to help nations work together to improve the lives of the poor people, to conquer hunger, disease, illiteracy, and encourage respect for each other's rights and freedoms. And the fourth purpose, to be the center for harmonizing the actions of nations to achieve these goals. While only having four goals, the United Nations more than less always fails at these four goals, making it obsolete and non-important. Peace deals are made by countries without the UN involvement at all. Friendly relations are created by diplomats more than often than the anger-inducing and demeaning meetings at the United Nations. They never fight for feeding the hungry or helping the poor. Therefore, third-party charities are created that actually do that. They help with no disease, therefore Peace Corps and other ideas like Doctors Without Borders were created. Because they don't do it. They teach nobody, and instead teachers work their pants off to teach their regions. Since they don't do it. They never fight for the rights or freedoms of any nation, and just look at China if you don't believe me. They do nothing to help anyone in their United Nations to restore individuals, their freedoms, nor their liberty. We do not need globalism in foreign policy because it's never even worked in practice. Now, trade deals are against the free market and people's jobs. Anything costing people their livelihood should be seen as a tyrant. Now, one part of globalism being used is another way people push globalism in the economy just without saying it. Instead, these people like to go, well, we need trade deals. But that is exactly the issue of globalism. NAFTA, the TPP, all these trade deals seal fates for certain countries. Some of them send their jobs to other places, outsourcing the jobs, and then the governments that receive them are incentivized to become the totalitarian government to reduce their citizens to indentured servants to sell cheap goods. Localism is the answer, not globalism. Red tape, the globalist red tape, or like a contract nobody's seen but world leaders that screw the little guy, we need to cut all the red tape. Or, so you know what I'm talking about, we need to reduce the regulations. Globalist regulations along with federal, state, and local regulations. These predetermined government contracts that are called trade deals are the complete opposite of a free market. They are abhorrent and a ridiculous claim to even be considered such. Anyone doing so, trying to say that these trade deals are a free market, they should, and I feel would be, laughed off into oblivion. Trade deals cost people their jobs and their livelihood. And another aspect that soon will be seen that's tied heavily into globalism and the destruction of jobs is also robotics. They are going to destroy and replace many Americans' jobs and destroy careers, and this will be globally. The answer I see is destroying these job killers, or maybe just boycotting and creating new companies that refuse this tyranny. But get ready. The Tomorrowland of evil is coming. Since the corporations are concentrating their wealth, these corporations are concentrating their wealth, and they will show us all how much they don't care about any of us workers. Just wait and see. Now I'd like to go ahead and pivot into Saudi Arabia, as the prince is seeing his first ever political resistance. A small group of Saudi dissidents, exiled in Britain, United States, and elsewhere, announced the launch of an opposition party on Wednesday, September 23rd, the first organized political resistance under King Salman's rule. Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarch that does not tolerate any political opposition, but the formation of the National Assembly Party on the anniversary of the kingdom's founding comes in growing state crackdown on dissent and the freedom of expression. The group said in a statement, "We hereby announce the establishment of the National Assembly Party, which aims to institute democracy as a form of government in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia." Now, Saudi authorities have issued no statement to this dissent from the exiles. Whether this is promoted by foreign governments is unknown right now as well, but human rights violations long have stained the Saudi crown. One of their speakers, Asari, the party's general secretary, he stated, "We are announcing the launch of this party at a crucial moment to try to save our country, to institute a democratic future, and to respond to our people's aspirations." Now, while establishing a republic is not stated by the group, which would really secure liberties if done correctly, they seem to at least, at this time, prefer democracy to a monarch. And this monarch is pretty blood-stained. Now, the group placed out a statement also reading, "The government constantly practices violence and repression with mounting numbers of political arrests and assassinations, increasingly aggressive policies against regional states, enforced disappearances, and people being driven to flee the country." Now, while it's not stated here, they want structure in the form of rights guaranteed in a constitution. If that's what they want, that would be great. It's not stated here, though. It does seem that they are saying they do want rights, so it may be an improvement to the structure that stands right now in the Saudi crown. But United States troops, they should not fight the war that the people need to fight themselves. And then some tyranny was exposed in Ohio. In Logan, Ohio, tyranny was seen under the guise of public health. A complete tyrannical overtake on our systems of life was exposed and seen as a police officer, Officer Smith to be exact. He went against the laws of the land to enforce something that doesn't even exist. In Ohio, the face mask mandate it states that the face mask does not have to be worn when you're 6 feet from others and when you're outside and just with your family. But Alicia Kitts of Marietta, Ohio, was tased and arrested by police officers for not wearing a face mask. And it all occurred at a middle school football game in Logan, Ohio. The officer in the middle of the mishandling and torturous tase on her even removes his own mask, the same thing he's accusing her of, while he's arresting her. The Ohio Health Director is clear that you don't have to wear a mask in that circumstance. When you're 6 feet apart from people, you're outside and you're with your family. But what did they do? They enforced the mandate, even though there's no mandate that supports this arrest. The police state is clearly here, in the hearts of some idiotic and tyrannical cops' hearts. They want to strip our constitutional rights from us and subject us to this tyranny. They are stating the woman was trespassing, stating the arrest for her refusing to leave. In the video, you can tell that there was practically no time before he tased and abused the woman. If anything, all she is accused of is a true and correct, peaceful protest and nothing more. She was attacked and tased for peacefully protesting, if you even want to say that, because she did abide by the exemptions for the mask mandate in Ohio. Now, I call for the cops involved who are ignoring the mask rules themselves while a lady who was following them was tormented and arrested. These cops, they need to be arrested, held accountable for their enforced tyranny. The Logan Police Department officer Smith needs arrested now. DeWine, the pathetic governor of Ohio, he needs to be outed as well. He's a tyrant and a complete idiot. Governor DeWine, he said, before you just look at the video, look at what led up to that video and think of that. You'll get the full picture of what happened, DeWine said. Oh, very unfortunate. Very unpleasant to look at. No one wants to see that happen. It's sad when we see something like that happen, he continued. Oh, Mr. DeWine, well, we saw what led up to this. The tyranny of you. The tyranny of DeWine has placed in our state, where his exemptions are being ignored for this asthma-induced lady who went to a football game, who was violated by the cops and tased for her exemption. Nothing less but the firing of these officers is needed. The outing of Governor DeWine needs to happen now. And all these tyrant cops and tyrannical politicians need to see how the law of the land works and how it's beneficial to us, the United States citizens. And I will always be for liberty all the time. And I do want to go ahead and thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you for watching this 4th episode of Liberty Bites Back. And I hope to see you soon.